Behind me here we have my 65 Bug. You might remember that I bought this thing over New Year's break last winter. It needs a lot of help, but I got it really cheap. It had a motor in it. It's been sitting apparently for almost 10 years. The previous owner was a girl that bought it as a teenager, and unfortunately she lost her dad, and her dad and she were working on it together. But without him to handle it, the thing just kind of wound up parked, and little by little it started to rot. But I got it really cheap, really cheap. It didn't run when I got it, but looking it over, it needs new heater channels, and clearly it needs new floors. The dashboard is in wonderful shape. It's completely unmolested. The bottom of the A-pillars under the doors need to be replaced. The heater channels are completely rotted out. Fenders look to be in good shape. These things are nice and solid. Skeeter is answering me over there. What are you doing, Skeeter? Hey, I'm over here behind you. So, the fenders, front fenders, appear to be in okay condition. The bottom of the headlight buckets here has a little rust. But we'll figure out what I'm going to do with these. I actually have a fiberglass set of super wide replacements that I've been holding on to since I was a teenager. Under the hood, you can see the spare tire well is all rotted out. So that's shot. But otherwise, the inside of the trunk looks pretty good. The only rust that I found in the actual body is here. One little hole, and that's pretty easy to deal with. Just cut a little piece of metal out and graft it right on in there. Hood looks to be in okay shape. They always crack right about here. That's from the hood being flexed whenever you open and close it. It's really not very well reinforced, so people tend to tweak them and crack them, but I can cut a piece out of that and graft in a new piece and that'll be okay. There's probably a crack on the other side the same way. It's usually what happens. Well, I don't see one, but I see the beginnings of one. Right about here, there's a kink. That's usually what turns into the crack. The bottom of it, rotted out. Pretty typical. Otherwise, the hood can be reused. I can fix that. Hood hinges are solid. They appear to be straight. The quarter panel on the other side looks to be pretty good. Heater channel on the driver's side is also rotted out. So we need to straighten that. The 65 Bug had the original swing axle suspension under it. This one has actually got a IRS suspension from a 73. That's why the pan doesn't fit tightly on there. You see how there's a gap? Because up underneath the fenders here, these body mount bolts, these are actually mounted higher on the IRS suspension body. So what I'll have to do is I'll have to drill the welds out of this and go ahead and move the tab up. And then the body will sit down where it's supposed to, and then I can put these tabs back on. Under the fenders look to be pretty good, except for back here. Somebody did a little welding. It looks like they had cut an access panel to reach the dual carburetors that were on this motor that was in here. The motor, by the way, has almost no miles on it. The girl had it completely rebuilt and unfortunately parked it. The thing sat parked for about almost 10 years. There's the IRS transaxle, which is from the 72 that we discussed. A little bit of engine compartment rot back here. I have to fix these gaps and figure out what in the heck is going on. This also on the other side is also a weird gap. This one also had an access port, again probably for the carburetors. Kind of weird that they would do that. Bumper brackets are welded on. Now somebody was a genius and welded these things on here, so instead of being inserted to the left as they're supposed to be and then the bolts run through, and on the opposite side of course you bolt it to the right, put it through, somebody actually welded that thing on. So I don't know what I'm getting into yet, but we'll figure that out. Deck lid is in wonderful condition. Even the bottom of it doesn't look to be rotted out at all, just a little bit of surface rust. All this can be cleaned up really easily. Roof has no damage. The roof has actually got the natural bubble shape to it with no dents in it at all that I could find. None. I don't know if it's been filled. I don't know what the deal is on it. All I know is it feels like it has a natural contour on it, and I think it's okay. So we've got plans for this thing. Windshield, unfortunately, has a chip in it. Right here. Can't get a focus. There it is. So the windshield needs to be replaced, but if anybody knows Volkswagen Beetles, you could buy a used windshield for about $20. You could buy a new one for under $100. The most expensive thing is shipping them. Shipping them is a pain in the ass. So you gotta find a local dealer and pick them up locally, or find a friend that might have one. So we got some work back in here. Rear package area actually appears to have no rust. The only rust that I see back here is right in that area, down in the corner, close to the heater duct. I don't know if these are bolt-in. No, it looks like they're weld-in. On later model bodies, these tubes are actually bolt-on or clip-on, and they're removable. On this, it looks like they're actually part of the body. I don't know that I'll be using those, because being here in Florida, we only need heat a couple times a year. So we'll see what we wind up doing with it. All in all, this is my project, 65 Bug. When I bought it, it had no title. Apparently it had been handed to about half a dozen different owners from the previous girl that had it, and not one of them tried to register it or set up a title on it, because she apparently sold it without a title because Mississippi, state of Mississippi, had no title. Well, the trick is, you got to use the registration. There was a plate on the back there from that state with the previous owner's name on it, the last registered owner. Bring it to your title state along with the bill of sale, and bammo, you've got a title. So I managed to track down the previous owner. I got lucky. I found her on Facebook. She's a real sweetheart, real nice girl. She sent me all the paperwork that I needed. She sent me a bill of sale, and she sent the registration paper, which almost 10 years later she still had it. Remarkable. And I ran over to the tax office, and I got a title for my 65 Bug. So unbelievable. With as cheap as I got this thing, it's not going to be that big of a deal to start putting parts into it and start doing some work on it. Now in my case, I'm doing a full custom. And being that it is a full custom, I did not want something that was in excellent condition, because I hate to cut a good car. I don't know, I'm a little bit of a purist. If a car is in wonderful, wonderful condition, you leave it alone. This thing, however, it's wrecked. It's got a lot of problems. It needs a lot of help. But thankfully the problems aren't too serious. But nonetheless, we'll get this thing straightened out, and we'll get it back together. So this is our project coming up for the fall and winter. And then hopefully by next spring or summer, we might have a running, driving vehicle. But we'll see.